नंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ जय गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ जय गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ जय गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण everyone. We will start from reading from Prabhupada's Leela and share my screen. So Mr. Gaur Kishore was counting heavily on Prabhupada's participation in the upcoming celebration. The climax of the week-long observance of Lord Chaitanya visit to Benares would be a parade, Mr. Gaur Kishore said, and Prabhupada and his disciple had an important part in it. Newspaper articles, handbills, and loudspeaker cards had announced throughout the city the presence of Srila Prabhupada and his foreign disciples. The devotees sensed they were being treated like entertainers, expected to perform as if under contract, but without salary. On the day of the processions, Prabhupada's role in a silver chariot, the kind customarily used in extravagant wedding processions. The chariot was pulled by a pair of white horses wearing silver crowns and decorated blankets. The leading float in the parade bore a 6-foot statue of Lord Chaitanya in yellow neem wood. Sorry. Next followed a file of decorated elephants. One elephant carried a banner reading Hare Nam Eva Kevalam. One carried actor dressed as Lord Ram and Sita. Another carried two actors dressed as Radha and Krishna who waved to the crowds, and another a picture of Lord Chaitanya and his associate performing Sankirtana. Next came a decorated flatbed truck with children portraying Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, chanting and dancing. Then, following a series of professional kirtana groups and Prabhupada's foreign disciples dancing and performing kirtana. Behind the devotees, Srila Prabhupada rode in his chariot. One either side of the chariot walked a devotee fanning Prabhupada with a chamara whisk, while Prabhupada sat with his right hand in his bead bag, his left hand on his cane. He was dressed in silk with pearl buttons on his kurta. A white patch of sandalwood paste covered his forehead. He didn't wave or smile or turn to see the crowds, but sat calmly chanting Hare Krishna on his beads. Following Prabhupada's chariot was a Sahanai group, several more Kirtana parties, and finally another statue of Lord Chaitanya carried by 8 men. The festival carried the festival committee said 300,000 attended, double what they would have had without Prabhupada and his foreign disciples. The procession was over. However, as the star attraction, Prabhupada had made his appearance and drawn a large crowd, and now nothing more was required. He felt tired. He and his disciples were taken to a nearby dharamshala and served a feast. Prabhupada remained grave and as soon as possible returned to his quarters and his regular schedule. A student at the University of Benares who had met Prabhupada at the Allahabad Mela stopped by to visit. The boy's father had given him a biography of Lord Chaitanya as a gift for Prabhupada. And when the boy showed Prabhupada a picture of his father, Prabhupada said, "Yes, your father is a devotee, so why don't you also take initiation?" The boy, hesitant, as walked with Prabhupada in the garden, Prabhupada said, "You have got the seed of devotional service from your father, so you must now cultivate." "But how can I shave my head?" the boy inquired. "I am a university student." "No, it is a custom. You should shave once and then you can keep short hair." "But how can I wear tilaka? They will laugh at me." Prabhupada said the boy should not fear criticism. He should become a soldier of Krishna. Just as the government honors its valiant soldiers, Krishna rewards a devotee who accepts difficulties and criticism on his behalf. "What about Guru Dakshina?" the boy asked. "Guru Dakshina is just a formality," Prabhupada said. "It was a custom in olden days that when someone gets initiated, he goes to the various homes. It is a sign that you have become a servant of your Guru. You are prepared to beg alms for your Guru. It is whatever you give." The boy returned home and told his father. The next day was an auspicious day. His father said, "The appearance day of Lord Nityananda, a good day to receive spiritual initiation." On the next day, on Nityananda Trayodasi, Srila Prabhupada initiated the boy, giving him the name Niranjana Das. When Prabhupada asked Niranjana if he had any questions, Niranjana said he wanted to know his eternal relationship with Krishna. Was it as servant, as friend, as parent? Prabhupada replied that servitude was common ground in all transcendental relationship with Lord Krishna. By chanting Hare Krishna, Niranjana would become more and more purified and realized more and more his relationship with Krishna. Niranjana asked how he would understand his relationship. "No, don't jump," Prabhupada said. "You have some Shraddha, faith from your father, and now you are associating with devotee and chanting. Gradually you will realize." Niranjana agreed to be patient. Niranjana asked, Prabhupada asked Niranjana to arrange a lecture for him on campus. And Niranjana, with the help of his uncle, a philosophy professor, got Prabhupada a speaking engagement for his last morning in Benares. On the day Prabhupada was to leave, he met with John Grieser, the American photographer, traveling with him and his party since Surat. John, who had shaved his mustache and thought a lot about his future, came to say goodbye until Bombay, when they would meet again in a few weeks. John found Prabhupada in the courtyard enjoying the sunshine and eating gur, date sugar, from a clay pot. Prabhupada asked that the pot be broken and distributed to John and the other devotees present. And while John sat licking gur from a piece of a clay pot, Prabhupada talked about his boyhood in Calcutta. John, Prabhupada was talking in his accented rhythmic English about his boyhood days in Calcutta, and he described a gracious city before the crowding and squalor of today. As a schoolboy, he had seen splendid Victorian buildings of white marble surrounded by stately lawns and trees. Suddenly, Prabhupada looked over at me, and laughed. So, John, he said, I think Krishna has captured you. I agreed. I had known it for quite a while, but now Prabhupada confirmed it. Now Srila Prabhupada confirmed it. When Prabhupada was leaving Banaras to return to Gorakhpur, many of his disciples went to the wrong train station. While Prabhupada and a few followers waited at the correct train station, Kaushalya asked him, How did you like it here in Banaras, Srila Prabhupada? It's all right, he said indifferently. Did you have a nice rest? She asked, trying to think of some positive aspect of the visit. Rest I can have any time, said Prabhupada, but I like to be with my devotees. Surrounded by luggage, Prabhupada sat on the beach while Tamal Krishna and Shama Sundara ran from the ticket office to the train and back. The train would leave soon, but where were the other devotees? Prabhupada watched as his spiritual sons argued with the conductor, telling him the train couldn't go until the other devotees arrived. They do not know what they are doing, Prabhupada said, and he smiled. So I'll end with that one and we'll start with today's verse. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भागवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी. So today's verse is from oh, I think I can move this somewhere. So today's verse is from Canto 5, chapter 13, verse number 17. Trervanchitoham sakulam samavishan arochayan shilam upaiti vanaram tajati rasena sunivritrendriya parasparo vishmitavadhi. Trervanchitoham sakulam samavishan Trochayan Shilamupaiti Vanaran Tajati Rasena Sunivritendriya Parasparodvikshana Vishmritavadhi. Trervanchitoham Sakulam Samavishan Rochayan Shilamupaiti Vanaran तजातिरासेन सुनिवृत्तेन्द्रिय परस्परोद्विक्षणा विस्मृतावधि. Anybody would like to recite this verse?
Hare Krishna Mataji, I am just reciting this. Toyvanchito Hamsakulam Samavishan Arochayan Shilan Upaiti Vanaran Tajjati Rashena Sunibritendriyaha Parasparo Dikshana Abhimsmrita Vadhi. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, can I please try? Yes, Mataji.
Okay,
Thank
Mataji,
you.
you go first, please.
Okay, thank you. तैर्वञ्चितोऽहं सकुलं समाविशन् अरोचयन् शीलम् उपैति वानरान् तज्जातिरासेन सुनिवृतेन्द्रियः परस्परोद्वीक्षण विस्मृतावधिः. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hi.
তৈরবঞ্চিত হংসকুলম সমাবিশন অরোচয়ন শীলমুপৈতি বানরান তজ্জাতিরাশেন সুনির্বিতেন্দ্রিয় পরস্পরোদ্víক্ষণ বিস্মৃতাবধি. হরে কৃষ্ণ.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go to word translation. They, by them, the cheaters and the pretenders and the so-called yogis and swamis, incarnations and gurus. Vanchita, being cheated. Hamsakulam, the association of great paramhamsas or devotees. Samavishan, contacting. Arochayan, not being satisfied with. Shilam, their behavior. Upayati, approaches. Vanaran, the monkeys, which are all debauches with no good character. Tajati Rasena, by sense gratification in the association of such debauches. Sunivritta Indriya, being very satisfied with getting the opportunity of sense gratification. Paraspara, of one another. Udvikshana, by seeing the faces. Vishmrita, who has forgotten. Avaidhi, the end of life. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Being cheated by them, the living entity in the forest of the material world tries to give up the association of the so-called yogis, swamis, and incarnation and come to the association of real devotees. But due to misfortune, he cannot follow the instructions of the spiritual master or advanced devotees. Therefore, he gives up their company and again returns to the association of monkeys who are simply interested in sense gratification and women. He derives satisfaction by associating with sense gratifiers and enjoying sex and intoxication. In this way, he spoils his life simply by indulging in sex and intoxication. Looking into the faces of other sense gratifiers, he becomes forgetful and thus approaches death. Translation. Sometimes a foolish person becomes disgusted with bad association and comes to the association of devotees and brahmanas and take initiation from a spiritual master. As advised by the spiritual master, he tries to follow the regulative principles, but due to misfortune, he cannot follow the instruction of the spiritual master. He therefore give up the company of the devotees and goes to associate with Simeon people who are simply interested in sex and intoxication. Those who are so-called spiritualists are compared to monkeys. Outwardly, monkeys sometimes resemble sadhus because they live naked in the forest and pick fruits, but their only desire is to keep many female monkeys and enjoy sex life. Sometimes so-called spiritualists seeking a spiritual life come to associate with Krishna conscious devotees, but they cannot execute the regulative principles or follow the path of a spiritual life. Consequently, they leave the association of devotees and go to associate with sense gratifiers, who are compared to monkeys. Again, they revive their sex and intoxication, and looking at one another's faces, they are thus satisfied in their way. In this way, they pass their lives up to the point of death. ॐ ज्ञानतिमन्दस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाखया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथां तां सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं Advaitam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kantha Radha Kantha Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Devi Pranamami Hari Priye वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते वेदव्यासप्रिय स्वामीति नामिने नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna everyone. What a wonderful purport and translation. It's very relevant to us, especially I was thinking about it and mentioned about that vanchita word, being cheated, is so relevant in today's age. Like people try to take shelter of so-called yogis, swamis, and then they get cheated. We have seen few places where this has been described many years ago in Bhagavatam, and we can still relate to it. So if we look at one pastime of Vanchita where being cheated at pastime has been described is in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, 19.12. In that pastime, Prithu Maharaj was doing the Ashwamedha Yajna and Indra came. So he came as to steal the horse, but to steal the horse, he he dressed as a sannyasi. So this pastime is an indication of impostor who present himself as a very religious person, but in actuality is sinful. So Indra took up the saffron colored cloth as a way of cheating others. And this saffron dress has been misused by many in today's day and age as well, where the motive is very important, and sometimes people just use it for their own benefit, and that's where Vanchita comes. Prabhupada explains that the conditioned soul has a tendency to cheat. Therefore, this quality is also visible in the person like Indra. It is understood that even King Indra is not liberated from the clutches of material contamination. So if somebody who doesn't know the background of Indra, he would take him as a very religious person. But when somebody knows that, oh, he is a king and that was his motive to dress up like an sannyasi, then that explains the real motive behind him trying to be an imposter as a very religious person. There's another verse from Bhagavatam, uh, which I found very interesting. It is from 4.23.28. It says, any person who engages himself within this material world in performing activities that necessitates great struggle, and who, after abstaining a human form of life, which is a chance to attain liberation from miseries, undertake the difficult task of fruitive activities, must be considered to be cheated and envious of his own self. So I read this and I was like, oh yes, we can be cheating our own self as well. The cheating propensity is so much that what to think about anybody else cheating somebody else. We ourselves sometimes cheat our own self, being envious of our own selves because we undermine the importance of spirituality in our life if we do that. So anybody who participate only in material activities and without thinking that he is beyond the body, the spirit soul, then at that end he must be considered to be cheated. He spends his entire life uselessly, and then he becomes envious of his own self. He becomes the killer of his own soul. So it's called spiritual suicide, that we are not thinking about the soul at all. We are only thinking about all the relationship, all the tasks related to this life, related to this body, and then continue into this cycle. But indirectly, we are cheating ourselves because we are ignoring that we are the spirit soul and we must progress towards realizing that. and and we should not destroy that real identity of the soul and waste our time just in eating, sleeping, eating and defending, because then it those people will be considered on the platform of vanchita. So we have others who cheat and misguide people on the spiritual path, as well as we ourselves may cheat ourselves by not understanding that we are the spirit soul, and we must have some duty towards that. Then when we look at the vanchitaha, as we say, the verse that we have been reading, it talks about the wanderers or the travelers in the forest of material enjoyment, the forest of the material world, who take shelter of the so-called gurus, swamis and spiritualists. But rather than teaching about the bhakti and our eternal relationship with Krishna, which is supposed to be directed towards us, related to the Krishna. But if somebody is not directing us in the form of spiritual education, if somebody is not connecting us to Krishna, not connecting our soul towards our lost relationship with the Krishna, then that is not the correct guidance. If somebody just in the name of some spiritual practice, the goal becomes the sense gratification, then it is under the then it's like a cheated spirituality. It is materialism, different form of materialism, just with the cover package of spirituality. Just like in the case of Indra, we saw that internally he was stealing, but as a cover package, he was wearing a dress of a sannyasi. Therefore, Prabhupada is saying that Bhagavatam talks about the guru who advocates that way of life, or a normal materialistic way of life, and he advocates to be aware of those cheaters. Many times he has explained that be aware. So someone has the insight, and then these cheaters, spiritual leaders, who send them on the other path, like towards intoxication, towards sex life, or alternate life of simplicity, just in the name of simplicity, but there is no connection with Krishna. Many times even yogas have different forms, but the whole purpose of that yoga becomes material, because yoga basically means our connection, the soul's connection with the super soul. But if that is not the purpose, then we have lost the main purpose. And that's why we need to be considerate about the false information or the false guru who won't take us towards Krishna. There's an example of Putna who is compared to the false guru. As we are warned against the false guru who is interested only in their self motive. And in Krishna Leela, we saw same example of Putna, and this pastime represents that. When she dressed up as a gopi, from this pastime we can understand that when she dressed as a cowherd woman of Vrindavan, she was most beautiful gopi there. Everyone was looking at her and was very amazed. Oh, who is this gopi? We have never seen. She looks out of this world. And they thought very highly of her, that, oh, it could be maybe It could be maybe goddess Lakshmi came all the way to see Krishna because he is very special. So externally, if sometimes it looks that, oh, that person is so great, but internally, what that person is very important from this pastime. And they were, and because externally she was looking so beautiful, so acceptable by the society, that nobody stopped. When she went to see the Krishna, nobody stopped. And she was searching for small children, and her business was to kill them. Still, nobody stopped because nobody could see that motive, because externally she was looking out of this world like a very beautiful, naive, innocent gopi, or somebody outside of from the Swarga, or somewhere outside places. So when she entered Nand Maharaj's room, she saw, and she did not take permission, and nobody stopped her either. So she saw the child sleeping in the bed, and she could not understand that this is not an ordinary child. There was Krishna. Krishna has unlimited power, even if he is in the child form. He is all pervading, and he was not afraid of Krishna, afraid of Putna. But Krishna closed his eyes, not because he was afraid, but he closed his eyes, um, thinking that, oh, he is in now two perplexities. Why? Because Krishna has come in a form of a mother. Um, I will explain about the different types of mother. So then Putna took Krishna upon him on his lap. She did not understand that, oh, I'm taking something to destroy myself, just like you take a snake and you think that snake is not going to kill you, but it will. So when Krishna saw the Putna had come to kill him, he thought, since this woman has present with motherly affection, even though it's artificial, he had to offer her a benediction. This is the greatness of Krishna. And therefore, he looked at her with little perplexity, and then he has closed his eyes again. And Putna must be thinking, oh, he's scared. He's not scared. And because of not being intelligent, Putna thought that she could kill him. She could kill him, the one who nobody could kill. And then Krishna finally kills him when she tries to feed him milk with poison. And then, without fear, Krishna was nicely playing on the upper portion of the dead body of Putna Rakshasa. And when the gopis saw the child wonderful activities, they immediately came and they were happy that, oh, the demon is gone, and Krishna is safe. And so, although Rakshasi Purna could increase or decrease her bodily size, and Krishna was just very small, even as in the form of a baby, Krishna remains Krishna. So that shows the greatness of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That Krishna is the real personality of Godhead. Because whether as a child or as a grown up young man, he is the same person. He does not need to become like how Putna was doing that to expose your power. You don't have to become big or small to fight. Even being as a child, he can fight with demons. So that shows that Krishna is definitely the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then we see that, as I mentioned, that Putna were offered milk even though it was with poison. Krishna was obliged to give the benediction of the Dasi mother in the spiritual world to her. So just imagine the offering of the devotees. So one who gives it with a very bad motive, what to speak of the devotees. Like envious, and with lot of enviousness, if she has given, she still got Krishna's mercy. Then if we love Krishna with all our heart, this as an example of in the pastime of Mother Yashoda and other gopis who served Krishna with such great affection, love, and they offered everything to Krishna for his satisfaction. Then, of course, they were at the highest platform, highest perfection. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommends that affection of the gopis, either in material affection or in conjugal love, is the highest in life. And there are, as I mentioned about the 7 kinds of mothers. So, according to Vedic injunction, the real mother, all the 7 kinds are the real mother, the wife of a teacher or spiritual master, the wife of a king, the wife of a brahmana, the cow, the nurse. So, in this case, the Putna came as a nurse, and the mother earth. So, because Putna came to take Krishna on her lap and offer her milk to be sucked by him, she was accepted by Krishna as one of his mothers. And this is considered to be another reason why he closed his eyes. So, why we are discussing the story of Putna? The reason is that we are trying to explain the false guru concept. That mother is considered as the guru of the child. But here, the motive was not to nourish the child, not to cultivate the child towards spirituality. So, Putna is the false guru. She comes in a very beautiful look. She looks like Lakshmi herself. She smiles, so kind, so compassionate. But inside, she had the demonic motive. She wanted to kill Krishna. Just like false guru may look very alluring to people that, oh, I am feeling so great. It's just a feel factor of somebody advancing materially. But if the person needs to understand that the guru is bona fide when they are linked to the shastras and they are connecting you to the spiritual progress towards Krishna. But if somebody kills the other person's spiritual advancement, then that is considered to be a false guru. And then we have read this Hamsakulam from this verse, which is also very important aspect, the association of great Paramhamsa. Now we have to find those great Paramhamsa. But in the ancient time, we didn't have to, because it was such a conducive environment that most of the people were Hamsakulam. So sometimes a misfortune happens that when after coming to Krishna consciousness, person doesn't progress further. Why they don't progress further? Because everybody comes with their own psychophysical nature, their own mindset, their own conditioning. And with that conditioning from their previous karmic reactions or what karma they have done in their previous lives, they get a particular type of body, they get a particular type of intelligence, they get a particular type of mind with a psychophysical nature that defines their limitation of how to use their free will. And so if I use my intelligence, what I use right now, then I'm conducting a journey which is predestined to me based on my previous karma, because that intelligence is also bound of how what karmic reaction somebody has done, because that is not purified intelligence. But we become fortunate. Why? How? Only when we have a strong desire, regardless of our conditioning. If we have a strong desire for spirituality, then Krishna sends a bona fide representative, a bona fide spiritual master, which will see Brahman Brahmite Kono Bhagyavan Achieve, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai, Bhakti Lata Bij. So Out of many millions of wandering souls, one gets the opportunity to meet this bona fide spiritual master. And by the mercy of both Krishna and spiritual master, such a person receives creeper of devotional service. And when a person is fortunate, he gets a bona fide spiritual master. So Srila Prabhupada explains that due to misfortune, he cannot follow the instructions of the spiritual master. What is that misfortune? That misfortune is our own conditioning. The relationship between the spiritual master and disciple is about submission. And that is, we have to break through that conditioning. As we see in the verse, the tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevya. So there's a subtle relationship between spiritual master and disciple about submission. Through submission, we try to serve the spiritual master. And with that service, we inquire. And then spiritual master, being satisfied with our service, will guide us. With our submission, he will guide us. And this gives us happiness. In this previous verse of today's verse, the previous verse, we have seen that a person in search of happiness, he takes the shelter of false guru, thinking, oh, that is actual happiness. A person, but actually, just by surrendering to a false guru who is making you happy in the material life and does nothing about the spiritual life, or doesn't connect you properly to the Krishna or the Guru Parampara, then that is not a bona fide spiritual master. So it's very important to find a bona fide spiritual master and surrender on to him. And that's only when a person can find the actual happiness. So when we become submissive to a spiritual master and his instructions, then we are not conducting our life based on our conditioned intelligence. And we need to come out of it, of our conditioned intelligence. And when we follow that instruction, we purify. Because then we spend less time on fruitive activity and more time on our spiritual advancement. Because spiritual master's instructions comes from Shastra. It comes to uplift us. So by following the instruction, we will progress. By not following, we will not progress. So it's very important to understand that submission part of submitting to the instruction of the spiritual master. And there are lots of obstacles in our spiritual life, the spiritual path. When we start the journey, many people faces this. Some people stay because they stay strong enough. Some people leave because they just, it's too much for them to get on to all these obstacles. It is said like somebody may say, oh, I may not be meant for spirituality. Why? Because they think, oh, I can't see this spark. Like if you see an example of a petrol, it's like, oh, the petrol is just lying like that. But I don't see that it can catch fire. But petrol can never catch fire if you don't put a spark against it. So it will, but as soon as you put this spark, the petrol catches fire because the petrol had the potency. So similarly, the living entity, us, we have the spark. Like we have that potency inbuilt in us for spiritual progress. And Guru, the causeless mercy of the Guru and the devotees are that they generate that spark and they help us to understand understand our potency towards a spiritual path. So that mercy, that kripa of spiritual master is very important. And because of that mercy, we become fortunate. But then many people become unfortunate. Why? Because of their old habits. They come to Krishna consciousness, then they can't sustain for very long because they just leave as it becomes like many stones they are carrying of their old habits. And at the same time, they are trying to follow the path, but they don't get enough strength to continue. They have the free will, but they misuse the free will. Instead of using in the path to progress, they just use it to just continue in the comfort zone. So the first one is bad association. I will talk about a pastime of Srila Prabhupada. That one time, a devotee asked Srila Prabhupada that, Prabhupada, my mind is always disturbed. How can I do devotional service with this disturbed mind? Then Prabhupada answered that actually we are not mind. We are independent of the mind. We are the spirit soul. So even if you are if you have the disturbed mind, you can surrender your soul to Krishna, and you can continue this spiritual devotion, this devotional service. Then this story is very interesting. Of one time, Srila Prabhupada met a judge from Allahabad, and they were having nice conversation. So in the meanwhile, Prabhupada was asking him about the family background and all of that. He spoke about his son. He has two sons. So he asked, "Oh, you have two sons. What they do?" And he said, "Oh, my first son is studying law." And Prabhupada became very happy. "Oh, that's great. Like father, like son. So he will also, maybe in future he could become a judge." And then he asked, "Okay, what about your second son?" And the person became a little bit quiet for some time. And then he said, "Oh, he's a cart puller." And Prabhupada was surprised that, "Oh, your one son is advancing so much materially. He has got a lot of good a lot of good material education. But how come your second son you didn't give him enough opportunity?" He said, "No, I gave equal opportunity to both of them. Enough money to have their fees, gave them proper education. But my second son got into a bad association of a lower class woman. And then he decided that he doesn't want to study. He even left his father's house, all the facilities, and he went to live in a slum with the girl and is happy with the cart pulling job. So he had a free will to even advance materially in this life, but he misused it and neglected that opportunity to study, to get all the facility. We see a similar case in the story of Ajamila. He was a very nice Brahmana. He was following a good path. But then, just with the association of a prostitute, he lost all his good qualities. And that pulled him away. That was the obstacle in his spiritual path. So that's why many people leave Krishna consciousness, because of some obstacle like bad association. The another obstacle is motive. Sometimes people come with wrong motive, and that motive doesn't change in the path of bhakti, then that will become like another obstacle. It will not help one to grow. There is another story about this. Once in Vrindavan, there was a person. His name was Agarwal, and this person was stealing. He had a habit of stealing. So he came to associate with devotees to steal. That was his motive, inner motive. So first time when he came, he was brought by Prabhupada, he was caught, and he was very merciful. He gave him another chance. That's okay. He's still associating with devotees, so let him purify himself. But due to his habit, he couldn't help it. And then he was caught again. But then with his repetitive offense, he was handed to the police. So then Prabhupada said that this person was very fortunate, but because of his nature, he is now suffering this result because of his conditioning. Then another obstacle is attractions to sense gratification. That is, for millions of lifetimes, the sense gratification is inbuilt in us, and we are trying our best to get over that obstacle. And we must we must think of not killing our soul by not surrendering to the bona fide spiritual master, by not taking the path very seriously, but just wasting the time around the false guru. Sometimes some people surrender to a false guru and not understanding the qualification of a bona fide spiritual master, or and who to surrender, not using enough intelligence, and that makes people fall down. So with bad association, with old habits, one develops that lower taste of material attachment. So that's another stumbling block. And even if then, from then this verse is very enlightening, that even if with all this obstacle, one finally thinks that, okay, I want to surrender to a bona fide spiritual master. But because somebody, or we have all these obstacles, it could make one unfortunate not to follow not to follow the instructions of the spiritual master seriously or sincerely, because one is not working on these obstacles, and it is holding them like an anchor. Like if we are going on a boat and we are working so hard, trying to row the boat, but boat will not go if we don't remove the anchor of these obstacles from our life. And Maya is there, like, okay, we have left this, now we have come to the spiritual part. But even when somebody takes up the spiritual process, the journey is long ahead. The purification process is long ahead. And that's why we need to understand how we can become fortunate instead of being unfortunate with all these obstacles in life and with all these habits, which is not favorable to the practice of spiritual life. So how we can become fortunate? So we can see that from the story of Narad Muni. In his previous life, he was born as a maid servant. And although he was not born in a very prestigious position, his mother was fortunate. Why? Because she chose to render service to some Vaishnavas. And when these Vaishnavas were resting during Chaturmas, the boy Narada took the opportunity to engage in their service. So through the mother, through good association, he also got their mercy, their compassion. So Vaishnava offered them the remnants of their food, and by serving them, he got more and more purified. He got good instructions from bona fide teachers. And then boy received the mercy, that unknown causeless mercy. And he gradually became a pure devotee. So in his next life, he was Narad Muni, the exalted of Vaishnavas, the most important guru and acharya of Vaishnavas. So through the mercy of having the association of good devotees, of bona fide spiritual master, and all the advanced devotees that we have around, we can become more fortunate. We can easily surpass all the obstacles that holds us down from following the instructions. So of our spiritual master. So following in the footsteps of Narad Muni, then the Krishna conscious movements. So following in the footsteps of Narad Muni, this Krishna conscious movement is rendering service to humanity by giving everyone a chance. This is what Prabhupada is saying. So I've got this very important one from Prabhupada's purport, which I thought to share. So he's saying, by giving everyone a chance to come in contact with Krishna. So if one is fortunate, he becomes intimately related with this movement. So thus, by the grace of Krishna, one's life becomes successful. Everyone has dormant Krishna bhakti, love for Krishna, and in the association of good devotees, that love is revealed, as stated in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela 22, 1.107. So Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunai, Shravanadi Suddha Chitte Karaye Udai. Dormant devotional service to Krishna is within everyone. Simply by associating with devotees, hearing their good instructions, and chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, the dormant love for Krishna is awakened. In this way, one acquires the seed of devotional service. Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. So it's very important to have the mercy of the spiritual master and then accept the mercy by following the instruction of the spiritual master and chant the Hare Krishna mantra, and that way we can awaken the dormant love that is within us. Just like petrol, we have the potency to ignite fire, but we need to work towards it. We need to become fortunate instead of becoming unfortunate because of all the conditionings that we have. So I'd like to end there. Thank you, everyone. If anybody has any questions, corrections, comments, please share.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Babaji.
Thank you very much for the nice class explaining the verse so nicely. And actually, one thing that you have done, that at the end you have referred to, that the human life, if we misuse our life, that itself is a cheating, because we have got this opportunity from the Lord, and it is an opportunity for us in the sense that it, as a human being, we have got a higher intelligence, and unlike other animal life, we have gone. The God has given us the opportunity to understand the God and and work for that. So if we misutilize this, that is one of the cheating in one sense, because we are not using that opportunity for the service of the Lord, what the Lord has given. So that is point. And in fact, each one of us, at the last set you told that Chaitanya Charitamrita is mentioned that Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem Shadda ko guna hai, Savunadi Shuddha Chitre karo he udar. So it means that it is already inside each one, in the heart of everybody, and we have to simply arise it. And for that, we have to purify a heart, because for generations and generations, I mean, one life after life, we have enjoyed self. We have only utilized our sense enjoyment. So it takes time to correct it. And only by hearing from pure devotees about the Lord, and we can change our life from material life to spiritual life. But for that, we need a good guru. And there is a problem. I mean, the verse started with that. The problem of sometimes the cheaters are there as a guru. But one thing Prabhupada has often mentioned in other places also, that if you want to be cheated, you will be cheated.
Yeah.
If we do not make proper assessment, sometimes people say, whom should I charge as guru? If you want to buy a house, do you pay higher price? Just because somebody is telling, you make a market survey, you take the help of person who can tell you what is the right price. You make your judgment based on that knowledge you approach. Similarly, if you buy even a laptop, do you pay a very high price? If it is, I'm giving an example, if it is for $1,500, will you pay $3,000? No, you will not pay, because it is available. You make a proper inquiry, you give your judgment. You are serious about it. In a similar way, when we choose our spiritual master, if we are careful and before that we make a judgment, we do not hastily take our decision, then we'll not be cheated. That is one of the things Prabhupada has told. If you want to be cheated, there are thousands and millions of people to cheat you. But we should not be cheated. That endeavor you have to do. As a human being, God has given us this intelligence. We should make use of it. Maybe in one time we may be cheated in some situation, but if we are serious to take initiation and similar to pursue spiritual life, we have to be serious, and only serious person in this regard will not be cheated, quite likely. Of course, there is also another chance, because the days have deteriorated too much. But if we make our judgment based on our seriousness, there are good people we can hear from, and in this way we can make a good spiritual master and then following his instruction, making it the life and soul of our spiritual journey, then we will not be cheated. And in this way, we can utilize the opportunity that God has given us as a human being, and we will be successful in going back to Godhead by following the instruction of a spiritual master and in association with other devotees. And so that should be our motto of life as a human being. So thank you very much for your nice class. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Arjun Mataji, it appears there is no other person to make a comment. So, I think if there is no other person, you can conclude the class now. Thank you very much for your nice class. Vancha
Panchakल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा
Kripa Sindhu
सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। ओ ग्रेस अनंगलता माता जी की जय। श्री प्रभुपाद की
की जय.
जय
गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल।
हरि
All glories to the assembled
Assembled
devotees.
devotee.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, no.